there, it's Lael with Lael by Mail. In this video, we're going to discuss priming or conditioning your brand new photopolymer stamps. It is important before you start using a brand new set of stamps that you go through a priming or conditioning process first in order to get them ready to stamp successfully. All right, so I have a couple of different tools out here. I will be using the Opposites Attract stamp set. This is a brand new set, so I have not primed or conditioned it yet. I have a white rubber eraser, and I only use this eraser for priming or conditioning my stamps. I don't also use it for erasing pencil. I have a wet stamp chamois, and then I have a microfiber cloth. Over here, I have a stamping block and some Distress Oxide ink. All right, so as we get started, there are a couple of different ways that you can prime or condition your stamps as you get ready to use them. So I'm going to show you my preferred way first. This is the way that I condition or prime all of my stamps, and then I'll show you a couple of other ways that you could choose to do it. In the description box of the video, I have included links to everything that I am using here, including the tools. All right, so as I take the backing off of this stamp set, this is a 6x8 stamp set. It is, as I mentioned, my Lael by Mail Opposites Attract stamp set. My stamps are photopolymer stamps. They are made in the USA, so they are very nice quality. When you first open a new photopolymer stamp set, they'll have a little bit of an invisible coating on the stamp itself that you cannot see, and that is part of the manufacturing process so that that polymer doesn't stick to the mold. But if you don't know it's there, it can cause you a problem or two if you are not aware of it. So what I like to do, I start out with just my little rubber eraser here, and I am gently going to erase across the top of the surface of each of those stamps. I'm just cleaning off that layer that may be there in some spots from that manufacturing process. The way that I like to think of it in my head is that as the mold is made for the stamps, they are spraying something into the mold so that the polymer releases easily. I kind of think of that almost like Pam. Like if you're making muffins, you would spray your muffin tin with Pam so that the muffin batter would not stick. Okay, so that's not what it is, but that kind of is an easy way for me to imagine that process. All right, so I have pretty much covered that whole surface. I should have everything more or less erased. Now I'm going to take my damp stamp chamois and I am just going to wipe that off. I want to wipe off any of those little, I call them eraser tailings. So any of those little pieces of eraser that may have been left on those stamps. It's important that I get that removed in addition to getting that invisible coating removed, because in either case, they could affect my stamped image, right? I don't want to have little eraser parts in my stamped image. And if there are eraser parts on my stamps, then the ink won't adhere, so I won't get a nice even impression. All right, so there we go. I've wiped that nice and I've wiped that pretty well. And I'm going to put my stamp chamois, I store in a little salt cellar there, so it stays nice and damp when I need to use it throughout the day as I'm stamping. I will link that as well. All right, next thing that's very important is that you dry off these stamps. And I think that's an important part of the process, because if you are using a pigment-based ink, really any ink that is water reactive, as you are getting ready to apply your ink, if there's any moisture on that stamp at all, it could interact with the ink and maybe give you a different result in your inked image, or excuse me, your stamped image than you might have thought otherwise. All right, so nice and dry, and I like to use a microfiber cloth because it's then not transferring any fibers to my stamps. All right, so let's grab our stamping block here, and let's grab a stamp that has a lot of surface area to it. So we'll actually take a look at what this looks like when we stamp. All right, so I have placed my stamp down on my work surface and then picked it up with the stamping block. I think that for me is the easiest way to do that. And then I'm going to ink up my stamp here. Get that nice and inked up. And I will come over here. I will always, before I ever start stamping with the stamp on a project, I will always come in and stamp. I'll test stamp first just to make sure that I don't have any stray lint or fur, cat hair. In my house, that's what it would be, whatever it may be on your stamp. So if you're going to discover anything that might cause your stamped impression not to look as nice as you would like, I'd rather find that out here, right, as I'm test stamping it. All right, so there we go. I have a nice, even stamped impression. So that is my preferred way of priming or conditioning my stamps. I will explain now a couple of other ways. And as I always say, you do you. So whatever works for you. I think you'll find, though, that if you haven't been priming or conditioning your photopolymer stamps before you use them, that this will make a huge difference. One last thing I want to mention here. You notice that I did the entire sheet at once. I find that so much easier when I get a brand new set of stamps to come in and do the entire sheet at once versus one stamp at a time as I, am using that particular stamp. All right, so next thing I'm going to do, I want to show you another option or another way that you could prime or condition your stamps first. And this is this is just a notebook that I have used in the past for testing my stamps, testing my images before I actually stamp on a project. So if we focus on the 5s here, in this case, I did not prime or condition first. I just got the ink and inked up the stamp and started stamping. So that is another way that you could prime or condition your stamp first. Just go ahead and ink it up and start stamping. But again, I would do that on a piece of scratch paper first. And this is why. If you take a look at this 5 is a little splotchy. What's happening there in the areas where it's splotchy, there's a little bit of that invisible layer on that stamp that is preventing, in some cases, that ink from adhering to the stamp itself. So no priming, conditioning, just inked it up and stamped. I inked it up and stamped again, and when you see this 5, you'll notice now there are some splotches in places we didn't see before. In the 3rd time, so inked it up and stamped again, this one, there are far more kind of splotchy areas than in either the 1st or the 2nd one. I inked it up and stamped again, and that final version of the 5 you will see is a nice solid impression. So that is another way that you could prime or condition your stamps. Really, before you start using them, would be to ink and stamp, ink and stamp, ink and stamp until you finally get kind of the impression you're looking for. I should also mention, there is nothing wrong with any of these. It just has to do with personal preference. My personal preference, I like a nice solid image. And you see that same thing happening kind of up here with the 4s as well. All right. Now, the 3rd way that you can prime your stamps, as people say, and this is not something that I do, but again, you do you. Some people will say that you can just take your stamp. Let's pretend that it was this one. I hadn't primed or conditioned or inked it yet. And you can just kind of on your hand or on your arm and press that into your skin to remove that invisible layer. Now, for me, that's something that I don't do just because I'm not worried about transitioning that layer onto my skin. What I am concerned about is any lotion or oils that I have on my skin that I may then pick up onto the stamp, and then I need to go through that process of cleaning and drying again. So it just kind of seems like a little bit of an extra step that way. So those are 3 different ways that you can prime or condition your photopolymer stamps before using them. If you have any questions, please go ahead and leave a comment on the video, and I will be happy to get back to you. Once again, in the description box of the video, you will find links to all of the tools that I have used in priming and conditioning my stamps. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.